dude, this is like the happiest Merlin has ever been.
This is good. Good job, Merlin.
I thought I want to pet Merlin, and I touch my trackpad and I start to drag my mouse toward him. I'm like looking at my computer, I'm looking at him, and my brain just sent the wrong signals.
Oh man, I've had those moments. Don't feel bad.
Right click, open cat, inspect.
/pet.
It's worse than touching a book and trying to scroll it.
Oh.
Or zooming in on the magazine.
We live in a society.
Truly. Oh. All right, dude. You about ready to start this for real?
I'm ready.
All right. We still haven't figured out how to start these things.
Yeah, this is Systems in Play. Hello.
Hello, Systems in Play. We're here. You're here. We're dear.
Yeah. To
you.
there.
We're your favorite podcast. It's back.
I wouldn't go that far. Here we are, though.
Your podcast.
I had a bit of a fun question, sort of an icebreaker question to start us out on.
Let's hear it.
If you were an NPC in a video game,
Mm-hmm.
and the main character came up and slayed you, what would you drop? Like, what little floating item would be spinning slowly in a circle after they killed you?
Okay, today it would be like 55 used tissues, 6 cough drop wrappers, and then, a handful of real cough drops. Okay. I wouldn't have change. I never carry change.
No, so no money.
No money.
They would be very upset after they killed you.
You would get my phone and my debit card and my credit card. But that's lame. This is not going to make a cool effect when it falls. Honestly, day to day, probably nothing interesting because I hate having things in my pocket. I don't like feeling things touching my legs when I move. However, that's a boring answer. So on any given day, I'm very likely to find a little piece of trash or oh wow, somebody left a little paper star sitting at this restaurant pocketed. Or I love finding little scraps of paper that people write
Yes.
and it's wondering what the context is. I have a picture of a rabbit that somebody drew that was quite bad. I treasure it. I treasure that image. I have several McDonald's toys that I've just picked up off the ground.
Nice, class.
Including a Pokemon one. It was either Mega Latias or Latios. They look the same. I was very pleased that day. So I have just random toys. I think I found one of those little alien guys that you get from a coin machine.
Mm.
So you might find a little toy. You might find a little toy if it's a rare drop for me. Most days you get 2 debit cards and some trash, but every now and then you might unlock old McDonald toy.
Perfect.
If you kill enough Sam NPCs, you can fill out your collection.
Perfect. Perfect.
What would you drop?
I think for certain I would drop one of my beanies.
Oh yeah,
I have
definitely.
6 of them that I swap out. One of them would be a drop. It's a whatever % chance to drop one of the 6.
Do you have one that would be your rare beanie drop?
Yes, I have a light blue one that I just never wear, but I have it. It exists.
I can't say I've ever seen that one, so it makes sense.
Exactly why it's rare. And I would probably drop a little paper boat.
Oh,
because I just always have. Every time I get a perfect rectangle of paper, and I'm just sitting doing nothing, I will fold it into a boat. It's just second nature, breathing for me. That and probably a bowl of curry.
Just a bowl of
That's a set drop. That always drops.
I love that.
Back to what you were saying about floor trash.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite piece of floor trash I have, my first year at college, there was a little stick-it note on the ground that said, your bike is locked through mine with the bike lock that you have. Please remove it or I will take drastic measures. And I've kept that note ever since in my wallet. It's so good.
Oh, you can you can turn that card sideways in the middle of combat to initiate drastic measures.
Exactly. But that's what I would drop, I think. A nice a little assortment of things.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
That's the show, everybody. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe.
I guess
it's been a couple weeks since we've recorded. We've been pretty consistently doing twice a week, but the show just launched, I believe, last week.
Yes.
For us. You will probably hear this like 6 weeks from now.
Yes.
So it's irrelevant to you, but we took a week off from recording last week to actually launch the show, get all of our ducks in a row. So it's been 3-4 weeks since we've recorded last. What have you been playing?
A lot.
Yeah.
That in that hiatus, this show has helped me appreciate games more, to be honest.
I feel the same way.
And it's helped me play them without this sense of like, oh, I should be doing anything else right now. But I've been playing a lot of games recently. Let's start off with Balatro, because I think you've also played a bit of Balatro.
Have I ever?
I've finally played Balatro, and oh my god, it has been so fun, so amazingly fun. If you're a fan of Slay the Spire, you will love Balatro.
Yes. I will start because one piece of feedback we've gotten on the show is people like when we like kind of lead in the topic and describe what we're actually talking about for those who are completely unfamiliar. So Balatro, we mentioned it in the first episode, which we were kind of on the ball about Balatro. I mean, you can't tell because we released it like a month later, but
Yeah.
the CJ called Balatro being a hit way before it actually took off. So take that what you will. I don't know if I said that right. Whatever.
Yeah, that's fine. Close enough.
Yeah, Balatro is a poker roguelike. Is it
Yes.
probably the best way to describe it?
Yes.
You're not playing against another person. You basically have like a set amount of money or of points that you're trying to make per bid. Is it bid? Is that what they call the round?
I think per round.
Per round.
Per
Okay.
hand.
Per
my
hand.
bad. Yeah.
Thank you. So per hand, you have to try and earn a certain amount of coin or points.
Chips.
Thank you. I imagined something round and my brain kept screaming coin. I knew that wasn't right though.
Interchangeable.
Yeah.
Semantics.
So you're trying to get up to a certain amount and you're just using normal poker hands. Straight, flush, two pair, asterisk.
Normal poker hands, asterisk.
The twist of the game is the Joker cards.
Yes.
Which are essentially like your modifiers, I guess. Your Joker cards basically change the way the game is played, and they all have like a variety of different behaviors. For instance, one that I particularly like is every time you play an odd numbered card, you get like a +1 multiplier to your score, which can really add up. Those are really fun. We will get into the specifics later, but like Joker cards do random stuff. They're cool. You can also have planetary cards, which upgrade the multipliers from specific hands.
They level up your hands, yeah.
Right. So if I can get like, I think Neptune upgrades straight. So getting 5 cards in a row. So if instead of doing like whatever the calculation is, it will do X times more when you play that hand. That stacks, and you can also get Arcana cards, which are like literally tarot cards, and they allow you to change or upgrade individual cards in your deck. And then I think the last one would be the tickets, which allow you to upgrade, basically like change a rule in the game. They change something about the game itself for the remainder of the game, is like the most generic way of describing it.
Yeah, they can like let you play one more hand, let you have one more discard per round, or one of them, the best one, IMHO, puts you back one ante. So things are a little easier, and it gives you more time to build up to the 8th ante, which is nice.
Oh, yeah, that is cool. There was one that I bought recently that just said blank, and it said it did nothing, and I'm like, yeah, I bet I know what that does. I bet that's just a trick. No, it did nothing. Or maybe it does do something. It did nothing for me.
I don't know yet. I don't know if people know yet. They probably do, but I haven't Googled it.
There's probably some like minuscule stat or something that it does, or maybe it literally does nothing.
If you know what the blank voucher does, just spoil it in the comments. Go ahead.
So yeah, the goal of the game, like CJ alluded to, was getting a certain number of I'm forgetting the term. Is it not rounds? Because round is there are 3 rounds per
ante.
Per ante.
Yeah, 3 blinds per ante.
Blinds.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So 3 blinds per ante, 8 antes until you beat the game. Have you beaten Balatro yet?
I have a few times.
Oh, okay.
But have you?
I've gone on record as sucking at games, so no.
Okay. Once you beat the 8th ante, it unlocks spoiler alert, y'all. Once you beat the 8th ante, it unlocks an endless mode, so you can keep playing your build that you've got, but it ramps up to like the millions really fast. So.
Okay, that explains. I was looking at just some of the random stuff in the game, and I saw like something about like a 19th ante, and I was like, I thought this only did 8. This is, huh?
And there might be like some other mode that I haven't unlocked yet, where you have to go past 8, and it's not endless, but I haven't got there yet. And also, after you beat it once, it unlocks a harder difficulty for whatever deck that you beat it with.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so
I did not know that.
It encourages you to play through each of the decks multiple times.
Oh, nice.
Really smart game design.
Yeah. So yeah, what's your experience been like with Balatro so far?
My experience with Balatro has been dark bags under my eyes, sleepless nights, addiction, major addiction. It's really fun. Balatro is like crack.
Agreed. I have a similar thing, but I'm very much an early riser, so I'll wake up and I'm like, I'll just play one round of Balatro before I start the day, and then it's 9:00. 9:30. I was supposed to be at work 30 minutes ago, and I'm still playing Balatro. It's very addicting. It's really fun, though. I mean, I think it was really smart to just kind of take the really basic poker hands that everybody's familiar with, and then use those as the basis for the game, because it doesn't take anything to just understand how it works and understand what the game actually is.
A cool thing about Balatro, and I think maybe not as divisive as I think, but I know GMTK, Game Maker's Toolkit, made a video about it, was the fact that whenever you're playing a hand, it gives you a small glimpse into the amount of points you're going to score.
Right.
But it doesn't tell you everything, because each card that you play has its own set of score, depending on what its suit is and what its rank is and what its bonuses are.
And then the multipliers for the hand.
Yeah, and then the jokers also give you some bonuses. Like, some jokers give you chips. Some jokers will like increase your multiplier. But it doesn't give you all that. You just sort of have to hit play and pray.
Yes.
And I don't know how divisive that is. I don't think it's too divisive. I think it's genius.
I agree. I can't say I'm the type of person who's going to like micromanage a game and like try and calculate it. I'm definitely not one of the people who is like running a separate tab with the calculator for Balatro, which does exist. If that's your style of play, you want to know exactly what your numbers are going to be. Somebody's figured it all out. That ain't me. That ain't me by a long shot. I start to get sweaty. I get stressed out thinking about the specifics. I spend way too long, and then I'm just not having fun, for me personally.
Yeah.
And I like that they put the limit on it because it's protecting me from myself.
And from a game dev perspective, it's probably easier that way too.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I guess theoretically he could put up just a number that it's going to do. But
yeah, you know what? It probably is just they could. Never mind.
Theoretically, he has to know the number in order to calculate it, in order to do the count the number of chips you've earned.
And also, there are some cards that are like not a set bonus. They're like a range you can get from 0 to like 100.
That's
added
right.
to your thing. Especially the misprint. The misprint's really fun. That card.
Yeah, I actually got the misprint in my last run, and then I think I lost briefly afterward, and so didn't really get to do anything with it.
Early game. So the misprint is a joker that just adds, every time you play a hand, it will add a random amount to your multiplier. So early game misprint, if it so deems it, you win. It's genius. I love the misprint.
Oh my god, that's fun. All right, tell me, what is your greatest moment in Balatro so far? Either like a run or a specific hand, a strategy that you did.
I always shoot for having one type of card, trying to destroy every other card that I've got besides that one card.
So when you say one type of card, do you mean like one suit?
One rank, usually one rank. So I think the best run I had was like, I don't know. I've scored, the best one I had was like some million.
Oh my god.
Which it's not even in E mode yet. Have you seen that?
I have seen that it can get up there.
But that was my best moment when I had like, I think it was all queens and kings, because there's one card that I had that's every king in your hand adds like ×4 multiplier or something like that.
Oh my god.
And then another card that I had was like every queen played would add something. I'm like, this was my best run yet. And it did not make it far after endless mode. Endless mode is insane.
Well, it's, oh man, that's the best thing about roguelikes is when you feel like you can just destroy the game. Like you are breaking the game. That means that it is a great game.
Yes. Once you set up your machine and let it do its work and it works, beautiful moment.
Yes.
Absolutely beautiful moment. What about you? What was your click moment? What did you like? Oh, this is the best. I love this.
Mine was, I mentioned earlier, I want to say it's Neptune is the card that buffs the straight hand.
Oh man, straights are hard for me.
Not when you get a card that reduces the number that you need to make a straight.
Oh yeah.
It reduced it from 5 to 4, which still isn't super common, but I would usually get one per hand, and I every card I had was based around buffing straights. Every joker, every straight, I'm just like, I'm going all in on straights, and so if I would get it even once, that was enough.
Yes.
And another card I had was, if you have no if you run out of discards, so you get a set number of discards per turn. If you run out of discards, you get a 15x multiplier. So what I would do is I would just burn all my discards at the beginning of the game to get myself my first straight, and that usually got me like 80% of the way.
Yes.
That's my farthest I got. I think I got to 7, the 7th or 8th. I can't, man, blind? Is it the blind or is the blinds the individual?
The blinds are there's 3 blinds in an ante.
Okay. So I got to the 7th, I think the 7th ante.
Nice. It's the best thing whenever you have a strategy. When you play the game, it's fun. I think one of the coolest things one of the coolest things for me about Balatro was that you can rearrange the jokers. Did you ever do that?
No.
So I think max is 5 unless you're playing a different deck or unless you have a voucher or something. Once you have all of your jokers, you can rearrange them, and they're scored in the position in that order.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's so cool. So you want to always have, pro tip, you always want to have because there's multipliers. There's things that add mult, and then there's the actual multiplier.
Right.
So if you have a card that says +4 mult, and then you have a card that says ×4 mult, you want to have all the times at the end.
Yes.
And it's just something else to think about while you're playing the game, but it's genius. It gives you a reason to shuffle the cards around.
Yeah. No, I love that. I hadn't really thought. I probably only have like 5 or 6 hours in the game at this point, maybe. So I haven't really gotten into the weeds. But that's interesting. That's cool. I love that.
Oh, man. My first 24 hours of Balatro, I had 30 hours into the game. And I don't know how that works, but it did. But there's specifically one of the runs I had, there's a joker that destroys the joker on its right and adds its cost to its mult. So I had to constantly think about, like, after I put him there, after I put him all the way to the right with whatever I'm going to destroy, I had to move him back. And I'm thinking about it now, and there's probably an easier way I could have done this. But the way I was doing it was I had him all the way to the right, sacrificed the one thing on the right, moved him all the way back so that he's before the multiplication things, and I had to think about that, or else I might accidentally destroy one of my good jokers.
Right.
But that's just a little bit more thing to think about. It's really cool.
It's so simple, and that the complexity comes from just how simple. It's so simple that it gives you so many options, and there's so many ways that you can configure it without it really being like a very in-depth game. If you know how to play poker, if you know the basic rules, you basically know how to play Balatro. There's not much more to it in terms of just playing it. Yeah. And the strategy comes from just understanding all of the mechanics around the jokers and the planetary cards and the everything else. Mm-hmm. I have to stop myself from just saying it's so fun over and over.
That's all I've said for the past 10 minutes.
But it is so damn fun.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the music too.
Yes.
Dude, I think that's part of it. I think that's why it's so addictive, because the music puts you in a trance.
It's very hypnotic, yeah.
It's like a synthy, relaxing, but like just enough to tickle your brain a little bit, so you're kind of paying attention, kind of not. Oh, it is incredibly good, and in general, the game is, for what is essentially a card game where you are just playing cards and putting, rearranging them. It's very juicy. It's good. It looks good.
They nailed the soundscape. Just the of the cards is so good. The song is great. However, have you got to the end of the song? It's just a cut, and then it starts over.
Oh, I haven't noticed it.
I have noticed. I kept thinking the game stopped. I was like, no. Oh, it's just the song ends abruptly.
Okay, that has not happened to me.
You have not played it for 5 hours without stopping.
Does it stop and then start back up again after? Okay.
It starts back up, but it's just such a jarring cut at the end. But it's still hypnotic song. The sounds are so good. Have you discarded something you wanted to play yet, or sold a card that you wanted to use yet?
I definitely have discarded a card I should have played.
That is the thing where the buttons are really close together, and if that was on purpose, it's hilarious because I've done it so many times. Like, damn it, there goes my run.
Oh, I will say I love the way the game looks. It's very crisp and I'm going to use the word juicy again because there's just so many visual effects and subtle things. Like you hover your mouse over the card and it subtly shifts back and forth with this little effect. It's awesome. However, the UI kind of throws me for a loop sometime. He uses this, and I say he because this was developed by one guy. I think it was by a Canadian fella.
LocalThunk.
LocalThunk. All of the elements are in these rounded rectangles that have slightly more thickness at the bottom than they do at the top. That goes for the buttons as well as the things you can't click, just regular UI elements. And there have been several times, at least when I was starting to play, where I just stared at the screen for a solid 30 seconds because I didn't realize there was a button for me to press when I'm like, oh, that's just showing me my score. No, I need to click on that button in order to continue. It's a small thing, but it happened to me enough times that I was like, I'll bring it up. Genuinely, like, love the way the UI looks, but I think there needs to be a slightly more slightly more distinction between things that are buttons and things that are just UI elements.
I can see it. Yeah.
One thing we hadn't talked about yet was the boss blinds.
Okay, the boss blinds. Yeah.
And there's a part of this that I'm gonna have you explain to me. So each ante has 3 blinds.
Right.
You have the first one, which is the easiest, the second one, which is the middle, and then the boss blind, which has an additional effect on it. For some, it's like all hearts are debuffed. Everything is the heart, which means when you play it, you don't get any points for that card. It can still count toward your overall. If I play a straight that happens to have a Queen of Heart in it, it won't count the points from the Queen of Heart, but it will still count toward that hand.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different effects that you can get from the boss blinds.
Yeah.
There is a mechanic that I can't say I fully understand, and that's skipping blinds. Okay. I know you can do it. I don't know what the benefit of not skipping them is.
So when you skip a blind, you get like a little bonus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that bonus can be good, can be bad, whatever. If you don't skip it, though, and you play that blind, you get the payout at the end of that fight, and then you also get to go to a shop.
I see.
If you skip a blind, you skip a shop, too, and whatever money you would have made for beating that blind.
So in some ways, if you have a really good hand, if you have a really good build, it's more beneficial to just not even play the first two blinds. If you don't want to change anything about your hand, plus you get the 2, I think they're called tokens for skipping the blind. You get a small bonus for skipping a blind, and some of them are pretty significant. Like there was one that's just you get $20 after you beat the next boss, which was significantly more than I would have made by playing that hand on its own.
Yeah, if you have a really good run going and you just don't want to fight it, then go for the skips. Especially, there's one boss blind whose ability is it debuffs every card you've played in that ante.
Oh.
So it is very beneficial for you to skip both blinds to play that boss blind.
That makes a lot of sense.
And he's the one I'm always looking for. I usually don't pay attention to the boss blind. And I'm like, shit, it was that guy. Damn it.
Yeah. That seems pretty rough.
Yeah. But yeah, it is. If you have a really good build, then go for it. Skip them. But usually it's better to play it out and then see what's in the shop, because that could be more upgrades. That could be better jokers.
Right. That makes sense. That makes sense. I did not skip until probably my most recent playthrough. I had gone all the way up to that point because I didn't want to skip, because I'm like, well, if I skip, then I can't play this blind. Yeah. I want to play this. I want to keep going.
I want to play the game.
I want to keep playing the game. Why would I skip?
Yeah.
It's that fun. It's that fun that they there's an incentive to skip, and I don't want to do it just because the game is so fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That's high praise. That's how good the game is.
I'm curious to see we were kind of talking about this off mic earlier, but I'm curious to see what the future for Balatro holds. Maybe it's a flash in the pan that got popular for a while, and we'll have a continued community, but not quite be what it was. In that GMTK video that CJ mentioned, he talked about maybe the developer eventually adds mod support. That would be an interesting direction.
That'd be really cool. Yeah.
I think the first thing people would do was probably add a calculator, but I'm sure there's a lot of interesting Joker types that people would add. Not saying that that's something the developer should do. It to each their own. Follow your vision for the game, but it would be interesting. Something you would mention is that I do hope that it picks up some steam and keeps the steam up and has a decent shot for Game of the Year, because it's just good.
Yeah.
It's just a good game.
It is really good. It's always fun to see little indie games up against the AAAs in Game of the Year, even if they never win.
Yeah.
It's still fun to see them up there. I don't think an indie game has ever won Game of the Year, has it?
I don't think so.
I know Stray was nominated once. Hades was nominated once.
They have its own category. There's Best Indie Game at the Game Awards, which I'm glad they have an opportunity for them to get a spotlight, but it also kind of feels like the Oscars have the best animated film, because animated films don't count as real films.
But it's still fun. 2022 Game of the Year, Stray was running up against Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Absolutely no chance for poor Stray, but it was there, and it's cool to see.
Yeah, it really is. There's a lot you can do with a small team.
Either way, if LocalThunk doesn't add mod support, if he doesn't even add some kind of DLC, I hope he makes something else, because I really enjoyed Balatro.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think that sums it up well. I'm excited to see what LocalThunk does next, regardless of it if it has anything to do with Balatro. If it does, hell yeah. If it doesn't, hell yeah.
yeah. Hell yeah to you, sir. But other than Balatro, have you played anything else recently?
I've been on a roguelike grind outside of Balatro. Specifically Spelunky and Downwell, which I think I mentioned in the first episode.
I don't know if you said anything about Spelunky, did you?
I don't think I did. I have not a love-hate relationship with Spelunky, but I have a tolerance limit with Spelunky where I just it really frustrates me sometimes, and I think that's part of the game. I think it's supposed to be a chaos machine in some ways. For the uninitiated, Spelunky is a roguelike game where you play as a little guy spelunking down into a cave. The goal is to get from the top down into the bottom where the exit is, and you go through I think 12 to 16 rooms trying to find City of Gold or something. I've never beat it. It's really hard. It's a really hard game. But one of just the classic indie games made by one or two guys. I would love to talk about it in more detail in the future. But yeah, I've been playing Spelunky. I've been doing one run a day, which another podcast that I listen to recommend that as the best way to get good at Spelunky is to not let yourself play it too much and force yourself to put a lot of importance on an individual round rather than getting, you can just press X at any point and you restart the round, and at a certain point it feels like what you're doing doesn't matter as much because you can just restart at any point. Not allowing yourself that forces you to just be really intentional with that one round because it's the only one you get a day. Being consistent with that is one method I've heard of actually beating it all the way to the end. Like I said, it's a hard game. It's a hard game. I suck at games, but it is, I think, known to an extent for being just a challenging game.
It's fun and it is really hard. But That's an interesting topic I'd like to talk about eventually, is the weight of choices in games.
Hmm.
Because you were saying limit yourself to one run. That makes that one run more like feel heavier. I guess is the word. I wanted to talk about that eventually, like, and not just in like games where you're pressing a dialogue option, not those kind of choices. I'm like in-game choices, where like playing an FPS online, you just die over and over, and nothing matters. And sure, you can get good at it if you really try, but like, there are some games where if you lose it, you lose a lot. There's a lot that you lose outside of that one round from game to game.
Right.
That'd be a neat topic to talk about. Sorry, side tangent.
No, I love it. I think that would tie in very well. Eventually, I'd like to have just, a whole episode we can talk about roguelikes.
Yes.
I think would be a good kind of tie into that sort of thought. And then the other one I've been playing, like I mentioned, was Downwell. Kind of a similar thing. I've just been, I wake up in the morning, I'll play around a Spelunky. When I die, close out the game, do usually 2 rounds of Downwell because they're pretty short. And Downwell is a game where you go down in a well. It's like a platformer, but your main method of traversal is falling down. And you have little guns attached to your feet that you can use to slow your descent and shoot enemies. And you can also, Mario bounce off the top of their heads. It is a very hard game. I'm gonna just say it's a hard game. Not even for me. I've been playing this game since probably like 2015, on and off. Have had periods where I play it like hours in a day. I've had periods where I play it, once a day. Periods where I don't play it at all. I have made it to the last level maybe like 5 times ever. It is a tough game. But it's so good. It's so addicting, and it has a really cool progression system in that you don't progress at all. There's no carryover between rounds, but you have experience that you gain, and after you gain a certain amount of experience, you unlock a new palette for the game, and just completely changes the color scheme. And unfortunately, I don't have like a master save that I've been playing on the entire time. I've jumped around from like my phone to my computer to my Switch. So I don't have like one where I progressed all the way to the end. I've never run out of palettes. Any of my like I'm always unlocking new palettes. There's so many in the game. It's gonna be a sad day, honestly, when I reach the end and there's nothing else for the game to give me, or maybe it's just auto generating the palettes and there is no end. In which case, hell yeah,
that's a good game design. Yeah.
I don't remember the name of the developer off the top of my head, but I want to shout out his other game called Poinpy.
I have a tab of that just pulled open.
Dude, I love Poinpy. It is not as hard as Downwell.
No.
But it is the opposite in many ways because you go up.
You go up a well.
You go up a well. And I don't even know how to describe it. You have a little arrow, you launch yourself up, you can bounce off walls, you can bounce off enemies. You're having to like collect a certain number of fruit in a specific order. I want to do a mobile game episode at some point. We can talk about Poinpy then, but if you haven't played it, Poinpy, it's included in like Netflix for some reason. It's a Netflix game, so if you have a subscription to Netflix, you can download it for free.
Well worth it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever told you. You told me about Poinpy, and did I ever tell you that I went and played it?
I think you mentioned you played it, but
I fell down a rabbit hole for weeks playing Poinpy.
Oh my god.
Poinpy was all I could think about for a while. It is so good. So
Same. Good. Did you beat it?
Yes.
The ending.
Yes.
It has an ending, and it's really adorable.
Wait, is it after the space part? Is that technically beating it, or is space the ending?
So when you beat space, there's like a cinematic that plays.
Oh, maybe I haven't beaten it. Maybe I need to go back to it. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I played it, but I fell down a like 2-week-long rabbit hole doing nothing but Poinpy.
I don't know who they got to animate the ending scene, but it's claymation.
Oh,
and
okay,
it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It really fits the vibe. And then you unlock a set of items that completely change how you play thereafter.
Oh man, I love it when New Game Plus isn't just the game again.
Yeah, it makes it interesting. It's like I don't know. It's been a while since I've played it. I beat it. I played a little bit afterward. I did some more of the like challenge runs, but I haven't played it in a minute.
I mean, it's got like, I don't want to say Angry Birds vibes, but it's got that colorful like when mobile games first started vibes to me.
Yeah,
it's you drag your character like an Angry Bird to launch him when you first start. It's a very charming game. Love that game.
I'll include the name of I will include the name of the developer in the show notes. I can't remember their name. I think it might be. I think they're Japanese. So I probably
Ojiro Fumoto and Team Poinpy. It says.
Oh well, thank you. Yeah, he's the developer. He just does a great job of making games that feel like they're for mobile.
Yes.
Not like a game that is on mobile or a game that could be like you can't play Poinpy on anything but your phone.
Yeah.
You can play Downwell on other things, but it feels so good on your phone. Just top notch stuff.
Yeah, mobile games have like sort of a negative stigmatism that comes with them nowadays. But I think in the first episode we reminisced, or maybe the second episode, we reminisced about when mobile games first started and we thought it was the future of stuff. This is what we imagined. I think Poinpy was exactly what we imagined. Really good game design, made for mobile. Like, I don't think it would work on any other platform.
Right.
Really well done.
So there is one other thing that I've been playing. Well, I've been playing Pokemon Unite, but I don't want to talk about that today. There is one other thing I've been playing, and that is Delta. It is an emulator for Apple iPhone. It's for iOS devices and iPadOS. So historically, ever since like very early in the life of the iPhone, Apple outright banned emulators, not allowed. Big part of why jailbreaking was a thing and was popular on Apple devices specifically is people want to play emulators. They've been blocked for years. There's been some like stirring and pressure in the EU trying to like apply some more regulations to these big tech companies. One of the results of that is Apple allowed emulators on the iPhone, and Delta is a passion project by I think a couple of people. It is an incredible emulator that has been technically available for years through an extremely roundabout hacky solution. Not technically voiding the warranty on your phone, not technically jailbreaking, but technically possible.
My favorite kind of things.
Yes, like a very specific loophole. You're basically making a developer account and installing a beta app to your phone that you have to refresh every single week. It's a nightmare to use, but it's here. It is on. You can just go out and download it. If you like I think they have pretty much every Nintendo console from the NES up to Nintendo 64, including all the handheld. Well, obviously all the handhelds. Also has Nintendo DS support.
Oh,
I don't know if they have any of the Sega consoles. They might be coming. But yeah, they're all on your phone. And it's an interesting topic because we were just talking about games that were made for mobile.
Yeah.
These games are patently not made for mobile.
Right.
Like these are games that are meant to be played with a controller or on a handheld.
Buttons.
But I don't care. I don't care. I get to play Pokemon on my phone wherever I want. I've been playing this ROM hack of Pokemon Crystal called Polished Crystal basically somebody's gone back in and like added all of the evolutions that came out past Gen 2 into the game, made some balance changes, added the fairy type in, added a bunch of new areas. An insane amount of work to get something that still runs on original hardware. I have a flash cart, and I have played the ROM hack on my actual Game Boy. It's insane. It's insane that this is possible and people are willing to put this kind of work. But yeah, I've been playing Delta Emulator. I've just been playing Pokemon specifically. I think I want to go and play Earthbound next on my phone. But just having that anywhere you go is incredible. Is truly incredible. I hope that it doesn't have iPad support yet, but I really want them to put it on iPad because then I get to play DS games on my giant iPad screen.
It's over then.
It's going to be over. I have my little stylus. Genuinely going to be an incredible experience. And I say I've been playing it on my phone. I've been casting my phone to my TV, connecting a controller to my phone, and then playing that way, which is like the hackiest way imaginable to just play a Game Boy game on the screen. But man, if it doesn't feel like the future, if it doesn't feel like the future to just have play it on my Xbox controller on the TV, wild. Why? I'm living in the future by playing games from 1997.
The future is here. It's good. I emulated a lot of games back in high school on my little Android. Because Android was ahead of the curve in that sense. But we already told the story though, right?
I think we did.
We already told the story of me introducing you to Pokemon via emulating it on my phone and then never touching it again. It's cool though. I'm glad to hear things are sort of opening up in the Apple region.
Yeah, I know way too much about the situation going on in the EU, but basically they're like forcing Apple to have third-party app stores, like how you do on Android. I think you can install like the Amazon App Store or the Epic Games Store. Apple doesn't allow that. EU is forcing them to. And then Apple realized like 90% of the people who want to install a third-party app store literally just want to download an emulator. And so they're like, well, we'll just let people download emulators. And yeah, you can still install the third-party app store, but nobody's going to do it now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess.
Corporations.
Yes.
Money. That's good to hear, though.
What else? I believe you have another thing that you've been playing.
Oh, yeah. Been playing a few things. Like I said, we had a hiatus. So I've played a few things since the last recording. I played Helldivers for the first time. That's going around right now.
Yeah.
And probably will be into the future, if I'm being honest.
Helldivers seems like it has some legs.
Helldivers 2...
Oh, yeah.
Is Helldivers 2 is a game, because I didn't know anything about Helldivers 1. And then my friends like, hey, have you played Helldivers 2 yet? I'm like, no, I've never played the first one. He said, let's play Helldivers 2. I said, all right. And then I was up till 2 a.m. Playing Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 is a game, I don't even know. I think live service is the correct term for that. Helldivers 2 is a sort of massively multiplayer online game.
Okay.
Sort of MMO, in that you play in 4-person squads of up to 4 people, you and 3 other people. But everyone that's playing it is working towards the same big goal, theoretically.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I have not played Helldivers, full disclosure.
All right. So you start Helldivers. You're on your ship that you get to name.
Fun.
It's like one of those you get a choice of the first and a choice word for the second part of the name. So mine became...
Neon Goldenrod.
Exactly. They have some good ones on there. Shout out to mine, the Judge of Judgment. But so you start out on your ship and you go to this big galaxy map and it shows all these planets that you can go to, and there's always a war going on if the game runs right. If the game goes right, there's always a war going on between your faction, the humans, and then there's another faction of robots, and then another faction of bugs, giant bugs.
Okay.
And what you have to do is either attack or defend planets. And you should all be working together theoretically to free planets or do these big main goals. But you can just do whatever you want, really. You can go to other planets if you want and do whatever.
Sorry, is it a round-based game where you like jump in Helldivers or are you gonna like play a couple rounds of Helldivers, or is it you log on and you're playing for an indefinite amount of time until you're done?
Yeah, so you start out on your ship, you look at this big galaxy map, you pick a planet or a mission that you want to do, and then you and up to 3 people drop down onto the planet, and you have, for most missions, you have approximately 40 minutes to do that thing and all the side quests. So you got a fair amount of time to just sort of walk around. Semi-open world, if you will. Helldivers takes a lot of gameplay beats from Metal Gear 5, if you've ever played Metal Gear 5.
I've played a bit. I unfortunately didn't. I started it and then didn't have the hardware to play it long term.
Metal Gear 5, it takes a lot of the movement from Metal Gear 5. You prone, and when you're proning, you can look beneath, like, towards... In most games, when you prone and you turn, your like body just sort of slides in a circle. In Helldivers and Metal Gear, whenever you're proning and you like try to turn around, your guy sits on his back and aims like down. It's really cool. The movement is really great in Helldivers, and it also takes some other beats. I said that you drop in, you have like a 40-minute time frame to do these missions in a sort of semi-open world. That's kind of like Metal Gear, where you would take a mission from your base and you'd fly out to the mission, and then you don't have a time limit, and you're not with a team, but it's sort of a semi-open world where you just complete the mission and all the side missions you want and then go back.
I mean a 4-player open world cooperative Metal Gear Solid 5 sounds fantastic. That sounds so cool.
It's really good. I think the devs either saw Metal Gear 5 and was like, this is amazing, or they saw Metal Gear Survive and was like, this is trash. Either way, they did a good job of sort of taking that sort of game feel and then making it their own. Mm-hmm. And it's very different from Helldivers 1. Helldivers 1 was like a top-down game, if I believe.
Oh. Do you know when it released? The first one?
The first one... Yeah, so Helldivers 1 was released in 2015.
Oh, okay.
March of 2015, yeah.
I mean, like 9-year-old game, but...
So as I was saying, at the beginning when you're on your ship and you're on this map, the other factions can sort of invade all these planets, and it sort of changes from week to week. Like, you defend it, they'll back off, and then they'll come back, and they'll do stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Apparently, that's all decided by one guy.
Oh.
One of the developers, I think. Yeah. So... It's all controlled by, grain of salt here, I'm reading off Reddit, it's all controlled by one dude named Joel who works for Arrowhead Studios. He's sort of like the DM for the entire Helldivers servers, like all millions of players that are playing it right now.
That is a fascinating concept.
I would love that job. Dream job, by the way.
Wow, man, that is... If that's how it works, that is insane.
It is,
and
so
incredibly cool.
It's so neat.
A DM for like thousands of people.
Basically is his job. The most recent thing that he did is there was one of the main, what are they called? Main orders was to kill 2 billion of the bug creatures.
Oh my God.
And I think he gave everyone 5 days, and they did it in 10 hours. So everyone's been sort of making memes about that right now. That's the kind of power he has, and that seems like such a fun thing to do.
Yeah. Oh man, what a unique position to be in. I'm sure that there's been stuff like this in the past, but this is truly only something that could exist today.
Mm-hmm.
With the like reach that video games have, the online capabilities we have, the ability to just have all these people playing at once on maybe the same. Are they all? Is everybody on one server?
I think so. I know when they first released, they were having a bunch of server issues. There was like a
Yes.
queue to play the game.
I do remember. That is how I heard about Helldivers. I heard people complaining about it on Reddit. That's just a fascinating role to be in. Very few people in the history of the world have ever had this position where they're like designing in real time this game for thousands of people.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. There's supposedly going to be a third faction they're going to introduce soon, which is going to be fun.
Ooh.
I don't know who it is, but they sound like it's going to be fun. Right now, the robots and the bugs take heavy inspiration from what is that movie where the bugs attack a big planet or something? I can't think of the name.
Bug Out?
No.
I'm
glad we can cut stuff.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Yeah, that one.
Where there's all the bugs.
I forgot the name of it. I'm gonna be in so much flack. But they're heavily based on. Well, we got to cut this anyway.
My brain is screaming Pacific Rim, but I don't think that's right.
No. Oh my God! Why can't I think of it? Bug attacks.
Spider-Man.
Colony movie. Ant bully. No. Fuck you, Google. Starship Troopers. There it is. Oh my God.
Yeah, Helldivers, the game infamously based on the hit movie Ant Bully.
No. Oh, Starship Troopers.
That's so funny. Oh my God.
Right.
Oh, Merlin looks pissed at me for laughing so loud. I'm sorry to bother you, sir.
Oh, okay. No, the bugs are based on Starship Troopers, if you've ever seen that movie.
I have not.
It's a old 80s sci-fi, I believe it's a 90s sci-fi flick where a colony's being attacked by bugs. And then the robots are inspired by Terminator. They're like the Terminator robots. It's really neat. I don't know who this next faction's supposed to be, but I'm excited.
My money is on slime. I think they're gonna do slime.
Do slime creatures?
Yeah,
I'm
slime
down for
creatures. Maybe maybe some of them are like slime creatures in a mechanized suit,
I'm down for that.
a la Jimmy Neutron.
Perfect. I'm looking forward to it already. One of the cool things about this game is the absolute scope of some of the enemies and some of the objectives.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've never played a Battlefield game, but I know the Battlefield games have like a giant scope when you're playing them. But some of the enemies are like these giant walking bugs that you can see across the entire map coming towards you.
That's cool.
Those are fun. Some of the robots, there's like, I don't know. I haven't faced any yet, but there's supposedly these giant like airborne factories you have to deal with.
Oh.
And
That's sick.
They do not look fun. The robots are really hard. But like the scope of the game, you'll have to run from one side of the map to the other to take out like a mortar that's been destroying you the whole game, unless you want to just live with that for the whole time you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
A cool gameplay thing though is the stratagems. So in most games, you pick a loadout, and let's say Call of Duty, for example, you can pick these kill streak bonuses. You get a certain amount of kills, you press a button, and it calls them in, right?
Right.
Helldivers gives you stratagems that you pick from. You pick like a base weapon, a pistol, or a base weapon, a side weapon, and a grenade. And then you get like 4 or 5 stratagems. I can't remember off the top of my head. You get these stratagems that you can call, and they can be anything from a turret that you can call in to a mortar strike to an extra, like a big weapon, like a rocket launcher or a sniper rifle or something.
Okay.
And in order to call them in, you have to like play impromptu DDR on your controller.
Oh my God!
It
What?
is such a genius thing. Because in order to call in an airstrike, you have to press like right, down, right, up, left, or something like that.
Oh my God!
And it's the same for every stratagem. So if you're a brain whiz and you memorize the stratagems, you only have to look. I do every time. I have to be like, wait, how do I call this in really fast? It's a cool thing though, because it captures that, like, if you're in like a stressful situation and you're trying to call in a mortar strike or something,
right?
It captures that really well. And it's like outside of the game. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
No. I get what you're saying. It's like it's relying on your own fight or flight response to make this seemingly easy task extremely difficult, because you're trying to like manage multiple things at once. I'm assuming this is in the middle of combat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely something that I would be physically unable to do. I would be panicking. I would let the entire team down. Yeah, that's interesting. That's really cool.
That has been my favorite thing about the game so far. It is so cool because it does everything from at the beginning you launch in, and if you're smart, you pick a spot where there's no enemies where you drop in. So you have free time to call in your weapons. You can just sort of stare at it and press the buttons really slowly to call in like your sniper rifle or your bazooka or whatever. But then in the heat of battle, it's also your mortar fire. It's also your air support that you have to call. And if one of your teammates dies, it's also how you call in reinforcements. You have to like press a little thing to call them back down to help you.
Oh,
it's
man.
so cool.
I love that. So, again, sorry, I haven't played it. Something I don't quite understand is you're in a squad of 4. Where do the other people who are playing online that are in a different squad, where do they come in?
Oh, okay. So yeah, you're in a squad of 4, but you're all working towards this big goal. And the goals are usually defend this planet. So you all do missions on that planet to increase this loading bar.
Okay, so it's like everybody is playing together on the same planet, but you are working within your specific group of 4.
Yeah.
And I assume that like that's the only people you have VC on for.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
that's interesting.
And when you're in your ship and you're looking around at the planet you're on, you can see every other player's ship.
Oh.
Supposedly. I don't know if it's, I don't think memory could handle every other player.
Sure.
But you can see other players' ships. And I think, don't quote me on this, I think if you somehow zoom in, you can see them walking around on it. I doubt that. Oh my God. But I've heard that from someone, and I don't think they're right. But
if so, wow.
It's a neat game. It's neat because the attention to detail is insane, but at the same time, it's quite buggy right now.
I see.
I find myself walking and then just being launched across the map, and everyone's like, "CJ, where'd you go?" I'm like, "I'm gone. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just gone."
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, it's such a great game.
I mean, it sounds like part of why it's like, despite a pretty rocky launch, sounds like it's still extremely popular. And I feel like a lot of that is probably because of all the attention to detail and it just being a fun game.
Yeah.
I mean, a sequel to a relatively unheard of 2015 game, it has picked up so much steam. I see it everywhere on social media. People are talking about it all the time. And I mean, that's when you just have the passion and the attention to detail and trying to make a good game, that always shines through. Even if there's bugs, even if it's not perfect, people can always tell.
Oh yeah. It's not any game breaking bugs really. It's just sort of funny bugs, sort of like when Cyberpunk launched. The bugs sucked. Sometimes it was unplayable. Sometimes they were just funny little, haha, that happened bugs.
Yeah.
I think one of the main bugs is trying to play. Me and my brother were doing a jump. We were just trying to farm some points and stuff. So we're playing like a low level 1 mission, and we have it set to private, but people still are just joining for some reason. Don't know how, don't know why. That's one of the bugs that can happen though.
Oh, some stranger jumping in your party.
Yeah, I don't know
Weird.
I don't know who's on random matchmaking on the easiest difficulty though.
Right.
So the way it works is the missions you play, the difficulties range from 1 to 9, and you unlock the difficulties as you go. You can't just start playing on 9.
Makes sense.
Unless you have insane friends who are already there and they can just drag you to 9 on your first play. My first experience in Helldivers was Helldivers mode, which is insane because I'd never played the game, and it's like an overwhelming amount of stuff happening, and I still had fun, if that says anything about the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, Helldivers 2 is pretty good. Y'all should check it out.
It sounds really good. I think you've convinced me to give it a try at some point. It sounds really fun.
It is. I don't know if it is a third-person shooter. I don't know if I said that.
Yeah. I don't know if you did or not. Everybody knows Helldivers, though. Well, a lot of people know Helldivers. Shooters aren't my go-to, but they're still fun.
Yeah. Helldivers 2. Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Another game I played was Content Warning. Have you heard of that one?
I've heard of it. I don't know much about it, though.
I'm not going to get too in-depth with Content Warning. I will say it's a little game where you and 3 other people have to you're given a camera and you have to record your experience in this like spooky abandoned factory where there are like monsters and turrets and landmines and stuff. And then you post whatever you've recorded to SpookTube. And then you get graded by some system. I don't know what it is, probably like the amount of time the monster is in frame. If a character dies, I think you get a lot of points. But then you get a bunch of likes and you get paid for that at the end of the day. And you have to like make a certain amount of money. Very lethal company, but instead of farming trash, you're farming views.
Interesting. So yeah, it's like a social media simulator where you're actually trying to make ghost videos. Or what did you say they were?
There's a bunch of different ones. They're like monsters. There's also like, there's not turrets. I don't know why I said turrets. There's other stuff down there that you can find. They're mostly monsters. And they do, a lot of them, some of them do random stuff. Some of them I don't even think hurt you. They're just there to scare you. Some of them do definitely hurt you though.
Huh. So you have like an overworld, and that's where you post and you like do your thing, and then you go down into some like sub area.
Yes. Yeah. So you get on the diving bell, and then you dive into the old world, is what they call it. And it's like all grayed out, and there's monsters around, and you just, before you go, you can buy equipment like boom mics, soundboards. I do not know if those add anything to the scoring afterwards, but they're really fun to just have.
Yeah, it does sound really fun to have a soundboard in that horrible situation.
This game, to me, it feels like Phasmophobia or Lethal Company, but the goal is to just sort of have fun and hang out with your friends in this creepy place, and that's really genius. IMHO.
Yeah, it does sound fun. We played quite a bit of Phasmophobia, and it is fun, but also it's not fun because it's just, I don't know. I found out while playing Phasmophobia that I am a coward and I have deep fear. But I mean, sometimes it's like, all right, I know if I go in that room, there is going to be a horrible beast that scares me. And when I run out of the room, it's going to chase me. And there's no respite from this. There's no comic relief. There's nothing to break it up other than like going back to the van and then sitting there and seeing all the monitors confirming your suspicions that, yes, it's still there and it is going to get you the second that you go back in.
Yeah.
I like the idea that it's the horror theme, but makes it light enough to still be fun.
It's genius in that in Lethal Company, if you get grabbed by a ghoulie, or if you get shot by a turret or something and you die, that's money that the company's losing. You lose stuff for dying. In Phasmophobia, you lose stuff for dying. In this game, if you die, you do have to pay like a hospital bill at the end to revive you.
Right.
But if you get that caught on camera, it's probably going to be worth it. You'll get a lot more views to catch someone dying on camera.
That's kind of genius.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
you're
I
like
love that.
incentivized to go up to the monsters and interact with the spooky stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. I like the art style of this game as well.
Yeah.
You're like a little guy with an emoticon face.
You get to type in your emoticon face and choose your color.
Oh, okay, that's really cool. That's really cool.
And the ASCII keys do work if you know some ASCII codes.
Nice. Oh my god, that's so cool. It's literally just like a text field.
Mm-hmm. You get 3 characters you can put in.
That's awesome.
And you can rotate it whichever direction you want.
That is amazing.
So genius. But I bring up content warning because I wanted to talk about this greater overarching new genre of games that have been emerging that I don't think have a name.
Yeah, I think, we played a lot of Phasmophobia, and then kind of subsequently Lethal Company has come out, content warnings come out. I think not quite in this vein, but I think, no, I was going to say Among Us, but that's not quite it. It's not quite in the realm of this. Like, you get with a group, you go and do something that you'd rather not do, but it's okay because you're doing it as a group.
Yeah.
And you're working together. And this, like, idea of you're not trying to kill... Well, I don't know. I haven't played Lethal Company. What is the goal with the creatures in Lethal Company? You're exterminators?
In Lethal Company, you want to avoid the creatures.
Uh-huh.
You're there to, like, salvage stuff that you find and bring it back to the ship and make money off of it. And the creatures are usually a bad thing. You just stay away from them.
I see.
Phasmophobia, you're trying to find them, or you're trying to figure out what it is, but generally you also want to avoid dying to them, and definitely not the case in content warning.
Right. We should say, for those who don't know, Phasmophobia is a game.
Oh, yeah.
It's a online multiplayer game where if you've seen any ghost video or any movie about like exploring a haunted house, it takes all of those tropes, the dead child, the twins, there's 2 ghosts, the poltergeist, the demon. It takes all of these and it makes it into game mechanics. And your goal is to go into this haunted house with, your all of this different stereotypical ghost equipment, and you have to identify what type of ghost it is based off of clues that you have in the book. And basically what you're doing is sort of performing these little rituals and trying to identify, like, the poltergeist always makes the room cold when it's in, and so it'll drop the temperature really low. You have to carry your thermometer around and see, but you're not doing anything to catch the ghost. You're not exterminating the ghost. You're just trying to identify it and not die. Have you played Lethal Company?
I did play a little bit of that too, yeah.
I'll let you describe that one then.
So I haven't played enough Lethal Company to really give you the full experience, but
Sure.
Lethal Company is you drop on a planet with up to 3 friends. You go into usually an abandoned factory. I think they added a mansion eventually that you could go into, like an old abandoned mansion. And you have to find stuff on the ground to sell. And you just sort of go throughout this, I think they're randomly generated rooms, and you have to find stuff to sell, bring it back to your ship without dying. And inside the factory, stuff can spawn, and outside the factory, stuff can spawn.
Okay.
And the monsters all have these cool tropes. Like there's one, and all these games we've talked about so far have like the, when you talk, it's your character that's speaking, so the audio emanates from your character in the game world.
Right. Right. So like in Phasmophobia, if I'm talking to you, and you go down into the basement and I'm still talking, you can't hear me anymore.
Exactly.
Unless we use like walkie-talkies or something. But yeah, it's very location-based audio.
Exactly. And some of the monsters take that into account. Like, some of the ghosts take that into account, Phasmophobia. Some of the monsters in Lethal Company, like, there's one, if you yell, it will stay away because it doesn't like loud sounds.
Oh, okay.
There's one that can't see, but it can hear really well. So you want to, like, be silent whenever you're sneaking around those guys. But it's one of those kind of games. You go in, you have to bring stuff back and make money. You have, like, 3 days to come up with a quota. And if you don't make the quota, you lose. And that type of genre is becoming a thing, and where you and up to like 3 people start in this sort of hub world. You can buy your equipment going into it before you actually go on a mission, I guess is the word. And then when you go on the mission, you have to not die and come back and then make money based on how well you did in the mission.
Right.
And these are becoming a very normal thing, and I don't think they have a name.
I don't think they do. But there is like a very clear thread line between the 3 of them.
Yeah.
It was like, that's weird when it was Phasmophobia and Lethal Company. You're like, oh, those games are similar. But now that there's 3, it's a pattern and there's a group.
Yeah.
And it feels like this is an emerging genre of games.
Yeah, because at first with Phasmophobia, you're like, oh, it's a 4-player horror game. But, like, these others have come so much farther from that. Like, there's still horror aspects, but that's not the main part of the game anymore.
Right.
I don't know what I'm trying to say.
There's another game that is... there's only a trailer out, so we don't really know exactly what it's going to be yet. It's called Big Walk.
Oh, yeah, Big Walk.
And it also... It's not horror, as far as we know. It's not horror, but it's a similar thing where you have a group of people who all get together and you're like collecting items and then just kind of doing things in this world. I don't know. It's yet to be seen if that's going to kind of fall into the same category as these 3. But given, how popular these 3 games have gotten, it does seem like a bit of a trend, a bit of a genre that's forming in and of itself. And I'm sure there's others out there that we just aren't aware of, or maybe aren't quite as popular.
Yeah, I don't know if you have a name for it. I would love to hear it. Talking to the audience and to you, I don't know. What do you think this should be called? If you think anything at all.
I am kind of sick of the like X-like.
Yeah, because this would definitely be Phasmo-like.
Yeah, and that's
Souls-like was, I think, one of the newest genres that have come around.
Souls-like is definitely a thing. I knew Souls-like was a thing when they mentioned it during the last Nintendo Direct. They said it out loud. I'm like, all right, we made it, boys.
We're here. Yeah.
But I mean, it's a good way of describing a genre. But it would be nice if we could have when you carry over the name of a game that sometimes like brings the connotations of that game with it.
Yeah.
So I hope that whatever does catch on is a little bit more separated from Phasmo-like. Also, Phasmo-like is just a horrible...
Yeah. Yeah.
By that being said, roguelike, I think most people haven't played Rogue.
Yeah.
I haven't played Rogue. I think a lot of people probably don't even know that Rogue is a game, and that is what the roguelikes are like, is they are like Rogue. Try saying that 5 times fast.
I didn't even know about Rogue until like a few years ago, and I'm like, roguelikes are the best. But I had no idea what Rogue was.
Yeah, same.
Also excited for more games like this. I guess Deep Rock Galactic is kind of like this.
Oh, yeah. I have played a bit of Deep Rock Galactic. It is kind of you have your ship, you collect your materials, you go down, you have to get something, and then you come back. It is similar. I could see it being put in that same category.
I don't know if you'd consider Left 4 Dead that. I guess I'm just getting into these like 4-player co-op games now.
I have not played Left 4 Dead.
I haven't either. I've heard many good things about it, but it was back when zombies were too spooky for me.
Same.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone out there has suggestions on what this new genre should be called, or if you want to tell me to shut up and that this isn't a new genre, let me know.
Yeah. I would love to hear like, hey, there's actually like 50 games like this and y'all are just stupid. And,
Oh yeah.
if that's the case, I'd love to hear it because they're fun.
I like these kinds of games, and I hope more are made.
Yeah. Well, I think we really only had one more topic that we wanted to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
And that is the clips that we've been posting on YouTube. So again, we are recording just about a week out from when the first episode would have launched, and then in between that time, we posted a number of clips from the first episode with some little animated characters, and we wanted to talk about how those came about because they're made in Unity.
Yeah. Hopefully, by the time this comes out, we'll have different. They won't all be those same two little gremlins.
Right.
But yeah, the clips that we made, where did that come from? Oh yeah. So I was messing around in Unity one day, and I was trying to make an NPC that could talk, and given some audio. And this was right after we recorded the first episode, I think.
That sounds right.
And I was like, wait a minute. So I just took some of the audio clippings from our episode, put it in Unity, and then I didn't have to do any lip sync animation, and it looked okay. And I thought, you know what? Let's make our clips look like this.
Yeah. I mean, in principle, it's doing something pretty similar to what like a VTuber would do.
Yes. Big inspiration from a VTuber. Without even thinking about VTubers. I reinvented them on accident, like a big Dumbo.
Yeah, it's like we said, we talk a lot about games on the show and just games that we're playing and games that we like, but ultimately, we like developing games. That's what we want to move into in the long term, and part of the motivation for this show in general is just to improve our skills on multiple fronts.
Yeah.
I did the art for the podcast because I wanted to get better at art, and CJ did the music because he wanted to get better at making music. And we're like, we want to put some shorts up on YouTube. How can we do that? Like, let's use Unity. We're familiar enough with Unity, and it's been really interesting.
Yeah. And we both want to get good at podcasting, so we're both doing the editing.
Yeah. So when you hear the bad episodes, you'll know who
that
did
it's
that.
me. I mean, who could it be?
I think you're definitely better than I am.
No. We'll let the audience decide that. But yeah, I think that's been the goal from the beginning of this podcast, was just getting better at all these skills around, not just game dev skills, but like the skills around them. Right. Audio, video, music, all that.
There's so much that goes into it.
Yes.
And if, I'm assuming that people who are listening to this are familiar somewhat with that world, but, if you're not, there's a lot of work that goes into making games. And when you look at projects like, Undertale or Stardew Valley or Cave Story, it can be somewhat easy to, like, if you're not familiar with game development or honestly like working on any big project, it can be easy to look at that and be like, oh, it's a simple art style and it uses chiptune style music.
Yeah.
How hard can it be? But there's just so much that goes into making anything happen. I mean, when we started this podcast, it took so long to do anything. We spent weeks just thinking and talking about what it's going to do. And then it was a whole afternoon figuring out how to do basic stuff in Audacity. And then another afternoon to unlearn all of the bad things that we learned the first time.
Yeah.
And it's just, it takes a lot of dedication and persistence to do anything at all, much less have something that's actually good and that is worthwhile for people to invest their time in, because there's so much media, so much content that's out there. It's, I'm sure there's a lot of great games that just in podcasts and YouTube channels and everything that just kind of don't ever take off because there's just so much other stuff out there.
Yeah. I'm knocking on all the wood.
Yeah. I'm not sure where I was going with that. Just kind of going off about just making things in general. And I think a big motivation for the show was just to start making something and getting better at the basic skills that we need, and making a concerted effort to use the skills that we're going to need for other things in the long term.
Yeah, like our next set of clips, should things go according to plan, Sam has an idea to use Godot for that rather than Unity, which is going to be really fun. I've worked with Godot like once, and it's really fun to use. It
is really fun. Boy, did we struggle with Unity getting it to work for the first batch of clips.
Yeah.
First it was our editor versions didn't match, and then it was they did match, but it was different on each of our computers, and we couldn't figure out why. And then, we were trying to use version control with GitHub, and that was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh, there's just so much, and the package sizes are so big, and it takes so long to download the editor. And then there's all this stuff about, Unity charging per installation, and
up until last year we didn't have a bunch of baggage to worry about with Unity, but now we do.
Yeah, and it constantly kind of feels with Unity like we're waiting on the other shoe to drop for something horrible to happen. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's our first game jam that we did together. We did it in Unity. It worked really well. I've done a touch of Unity for work. We're both familiar enough with it, and it's a pain to have to learn a new tool. But Godot is nice because it's fun and it's free, and it's nice to know that there are people out there making these tools that are for everybody, and like using those tools is actively making them better. Using Audacity, there's better programs out there that we could pay for, but it's free, and using Audacity helps other people use Audacity in the future. Same with Godot. I'm excited to be working in it. Have a bit of progress so far. I think the biggest hurdle is going to be actually getting the lip syncing code moved back from Unity into Godot, but it turns out there's a little bit of a scene for Godot VTubers.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that recently, but I found a couple videos online talking about how to get something like that set up, so maybe it won't be as bad as I'm thinking.
It's nice that my hat comes off to all the people that have used nothing but Unity from the beginning, and they're years into projects by now, and then Unity's pulling all this stuff that they're pulling. Thankfully, we're early enough in it to where switching to Godot won't be too much of an issue for us.
Right. I wish picking an engine wasn't so hard.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just go and write the whole thing in assembly. I don't know. One of the goals that we have for the game, and I'm almost, or for these clips, and I'm almost reticent to say something in the event that it doesn't happen, but one of our ideas is to make these actually playable little micro games that we can post on itch, to the level of the 3 seconds that you would play something in a WarioWare mini game. Yeah. But the act of going through the whole process of starting something and then publishing it is a big part of making games. And I think getting over that hump of actually putting something out there, it's part of why we're doing the podcast. It's getting something out there, and being comfortable with putting your work out is one of the hurdles to doing anything at all.
That's why I know episode 0, we talked about going out and joining game jams. I'm going to harp on that again. That's a good way to do it. Jams
Yeah.
give you a deadline. They give you a goal to work towards. Really smart in that field.
Yeah. And it's just a cool community. It's a cool way to meet people. It's a cool way to just see like how many different concepts can come from one really simple idea, and see how many people take one idea and interpret it in different ways. I know I said the same thing twice.
You said one idea is why 2 different ways. It's
Yeah.
it's really cool.
Yeah, game jams are awesome.
Yeah. Go out and join them.
Well, we've talked about Unity and Godot. Let's go over some of our other tools that we've been using for this.
Oh yeah.
One big one is Aseprite.
Yes.
It's a pixel art editing tool. Very simple to get started, but there's a lot of depth to Aseprite. It really feels like you can take it and get started, but go as deep as you want and get really familiar with the tool and do some really interesting things.
And if it's missing something that you think should be there, it's probably an extension you can find on itch, which is so cool.
Yes. And it's an active development. It's still getting new features to this day. You can download it on Steam. You can download it on itch. Humble Bundle, I think, is where I got it for some reason. That's been a big one for us. I think I prototyped the art in Procreate, which is a drawing app for the iPad. It's really cool. It's a good app. If you haven't used it, I recommend it. I think in general in games, it's a little bit easier to work with pixels and just smaller things. And it's nice to be able to work with something directly on your computer rather than having to transfer things back and forth between devices.
Procreate might be the only reason I own an Apple product anytime soon.
It is very good. It's very good. It has a built-in tools for animation as well, so you can start with just a single image and then add on the rest of your frames and then export those into whatever your game tool is.
It has been a lifesaver. All the art that you see, all the beautiful art that we've been using for all of our stuff has been by Sam.
Ah, thank you.
It is very
And
well
not
done.
true. You did I did the prototype for this round of clips, but then you went back into the backgrounds and traced back over some of the stuff I did, so it's a consistent style.
Yeah, so I traced over Sam's stuff, and I made those gross little green guys that talk for us.
And let it not go unsaid that you did basically all the coding for for getting that project to work. So outside of that, we did audio and Audacity, like we mentioned earlier. We put the videos together using DaVinci Resolve, which is another free tool. Neither one of us had used that before, but it's really cool. I've been enjoying using it so far. It's pretty intuitive.
Yeah, it's simple on the outside, but if you dig into it, it's got some pretty powerful tools inside of it.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn more about it. It seems like there's a lot we could do with that. Not that I anticipate us doing just a ton of heavily edited video projects, at least in the near future. It's cool. It's a nice tool. And then I think the other piece of our stack is OBS for screen recording.
Oh yeah, OBS for screen recording the clips. It's kind of funny because basically setting up machinimas, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
We have talking video game characters that we record.
Yeah. And that's
again a very VTuber thing, actually.
Right.
But
we haven't hammered that point home, but the whole process works by open up OBS, run the project in Unity, position the OBS screen to where it's just showing the game. When the game starts, it shows the podcast logo, and then right-clicking plays the little animation that transitions it to the little gremlins talking. That left-clicking initiates them talking, and then right-clicking again brings back up the animation and then the outro credits thing. It's very like, I don't want to say jank. It's just purpose built for this one thing. This one is not a playable game. There's not really. It's very surface level, but that's what we needed. You know, we didn't need a whole thing for this. And you know, I think one thing that's important is to not get lost in the weeds, trying to make everything perfect and in this, you know, perfectly crafted system. When all you need is just, you know, a little bit of schmutz to get your tool set up, you know?
Yeah, I think that's been the most fun part was just making this little fake world to run around in and hear ourselves talking.
Yeah.
It was before it was just a screen, 2 talking heads, and then another screen. There was a little section where you could run around in it, by the way. I had a little playable RPG, not playable, a little run-aroundable Legend of Zelda-esque type game.
Yeah, I think we had one, like an overworld design and a little character. Those didn't end up making the cut because, you know, you just didn't have time.
Yeah.
We wanted to get the clips out, and you know, sometimes it's just better to get something out than to have your exact vision in mind.
Yeah, I agree. And who knows, they might show up eventually.
Yeah, if there's anything we can do well, I'm going to say it's make ugly little freaky creatures. It's the signature move.
Oh, they're the best, and I love each and every one of them equally.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's it for the show. Thanks for listening. You know, if you haven't, go ahead and jump over to systemsandplay.com. Has our links to everything if you want to see the clips we were talking about. And then anything new that we happen to do will go up on that site first. And it's kind of the funnel to take you wherever you need to go.
Yeah. And before we completely sign off, answer me this. If you were an NPC in a video game and the protagonist came up and slayed you, what would you drop?
What would you drop?
Good. Ant bully. No. Fuck you, Google.